am searching for my Jethro. I have chosen to accept the challenge that my professor, Dr. Hal Lewis of the Spertus Institute for Jewish Learning and Leadership, threw out to our class in the last moments of his course on becoming an effective Jewish leader. We had just spent 3 days learning from him about a Jewish approach to leadership, and the last snippet he left us with was this charge. His words, "Find your Jethro," have been on my mind ever since. Who is Jethro, and what does he have to do with becoming an effective Jewish leader? Jethro was the father-in-law of Moses, the man who led the Jews from slavery in Egypt to their promised homeland. In the early days of the Exodus, Jethro witnessed the enormous responsibility Moses had taken on to lead the Jews, and the tremendous need they were exhibiting for his wisdom and leadership. In the book of Exodus, from the Torah, an exchange between Moses and Jethro took place regarding Moses' leadership style. From verses 14 through 24, the conversation went like this. "Moses, why are you acting alone in every leadership capacity for these people? You are going to burn yourself out." "Father-in-law, they are looking to me to lead them in the teachings and the laws of God." "Well, Moses, the job is too big for one man. Find others who are capable and make the job easier by sharing the burden with them." Jethro's advice was wise and practical. I would say it has also stood the test of time for leaders over these past centuries. But more to the point of Dr. Lewis's challenge was Moses' response. Moses heeded his father-in-law and did just as he said. And for me, that is the crux of the challenge. My name is Mona Duell, and I am working on an executive master's degree in Jewish professional studies at Spertus. Part of our 18-month program is to participate in 10 sessions with an executive coach. I know people who are executive coaches, and I have colleagues who frequent these coaches. I must admit that this required exercise was the one I looked forward to the least. Not because I think I'm perfect and don't need a coach. Well, maybe. Not that I don't appreciate feedback. Well, sort of. Certainly not because I don't believe there are better ways than mine. Well, I'm not so sure. In all honesty, while I don't believe any of these statements are true, talking about any chink in my self-perceived leadership armor scares me. So, I approach this impending professional opportunity with my assigned executive coach with great trepidation. During my first session, I even joked that if anything sounded like therapy, I was going to accidentally disconnect the Skype call. I stuck to my agenda and held tight to my resolve to show no weakness. What I am learning throughout my course of study is that many leaders have a fear of appearing less than perfect. More importantly, what I am learning is how that fear is keeping me from becoming an effective leader in the 21st century for our Jewish community. Continuing to approach this coaching opportunity with fear, instead of embracing these sessions with the mentor, would be missing the gift of wisdom from a potential Jethro. I need to trust the experts and open myself to the knowledge and experiences of others so I can bring more skills and better honed behaviors to the leadership table. With these skills and behaviors, I will be able to more effectively focus on what I believe are the most important responsibilities of our Jewish leaders today. I believe there are 3 things that an effective Jewish leader should focus on in the 21st century. First, a leader should recognize his weaknesses and surround himself with others who are stronger in those areas. In their work in praise of the incomplete leader, Deborah Ancona, Thomas Malone, Wanda Orlikowski, and Peter Senjay support the concept that there is no one perfect leader at the top of an organization, commanding and controlling every aspect of all things. Instead, an effective leader should cultivate and coordinate the actions of those around him. For those leaders who fear the word incomplete, it does not mean incompetent. This concept suggests that leaders do not need to have all the skills necessary to reach an organizational goal. Rather, the effective leader recognizes his strengths and weaknesses in relationship to the task at hand and makes space for those around him to complement his weaknesses with their strengths. Peter Drucker, a recognized expert in leadership theory, held that a leader is less the expert and more the convener of experts. The necessary leadership skill here is to understand what is needed to get the job done and bring those people together who collectively have the skills to accomplish the goal. Warren Bennis and Robert Thomas, both leadership gurus, also support this idea. They believe today's most effective leaders, instead of commanding and controlling, are those who can align, create, and empower, making allies of followers and leaders in an organization. The second focus for effective Jewish leaders in the 21st century should be to identify, nurture, and train the next generation of leaders. Dr. Lewis makes this point in his book, From Sanctuary to Boardroom, about the capacity of all Jews to lead. In chapter 19 of Exodus, God tells the Jewish people, "You shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." By proclaiming Jews as a kingdom of priests, Mamlechet Kohanim, the Torah teaches that all Jews have the capacity to lead, regardless of lineage or position. Warren Bennis states that learning to lead is a lot easier than most people think, because each of us has the capacity for leadership. Bennis believes that the process of becoming a leader is much the same as the process of becoming a fully integrated human being. Daniel Goleman, a researcher in emotional intelligence, supports this idea when he writes that the behaviors that distinguish someone as a human being also distinguish him or her as a leader. A leader in the Jewish community today needs simply to look around and realize he is surrounded by other Jews who possess the capacity to lead. That leader's charge should be to recognize the capacity in others, create space for others to share their strengths, and empower them to exhibit the leadership behaviors they possess. Lastly, the effective Jewish leader in the 21st century should be focused on creating an agency that will carry on long after he has retired or moved on to a new challenge. From the Torah, we learn that Moses was aware of the need to find his successor and the importance this focus would have on ensuring the longevity of the Jewish people. Moses' humble nature made this process more palatable to him than perhaps for a leader whose ego cannot get out of his way to allow for another to eventually rise to his position. Jim Collins, author of From Good to Great, pinpoints humility as an essential characteristic for a leader when moving his organization from good to great. He also charges that this effective leader should concentrate on clock building and not time telling. Simply put, an effective leader should focus on building a clock that will outlast his tenure and not assume the role of the day-to-day telling of time. The mechanisms that a leader helps put in place while building the clock will better ensure its longevity. In the end, it is the viability and continuity of the agency or organization that is most important. This continuity is where the best leaders should take their satisfaction, rather than in praise for their personal greatness. I am happy to say that many of these experts on leadership that I have been learning from have become my Jethros. My executive coach can also be put in that category. What I have learned most is to appreciate that everyone with whom I interact has the potential to provide me with that Jethro moment that Moses experienced. In accepting Dr. Lewis's challenge, I will not only be ready to accept those moments of wisdom when they are offered, but I will allow others to know I am always searching. I will be working on being less afraid to appear incomplete as a leader and allowing that vulnerability to be seen by others. I believe that in those moments, I will be best able to focus on what I believe are the most important responsibilities of an effective Jewish leader for the 21st century. Thank you.